On Global Television News Prime, Edo Gaba, President Tinubu asks politicians to respect will of voters. Flooding, SEMA urges Benue residents to relocate. In business, Dangote officials, refiners tackle marketers over imported premium motor spirits. On the foreign scene, Saudi rules out restoring diplomatic ties with Israel without Palestinian state. And in sports, African universities storm Lagos for Federation of African University Sports Games. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television. We're coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nigecomsat. President Bola Tinubu has urged all stakeholders in the Edo State governorship elections to respect the will of the people in their ability to choose their leaders. Tinubu gave the charge in a statement by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga. President Tinubu urges the governorship candidates, political parties and supporters to respect the democratic process and the people's will, while calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and security agencies to be impartial in their conduct. President Tinubu said all the parties must endeavor to conduct themselves peacefully and sportingly. President Bola Tinubu has received the report on the recommendations of the Committee on Livestock Reform Implementation in Nigeria. The report was presented to Tinubu at the State House in Abuja by the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Livestock Reform, Professor Atahiru Jega. Kike Lomo-Okere has details.
Speaking to State House correspondents shortly after the meeting with the President, Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Livestock Reform, Professor Atahiru Jega, says the committee was able to identify measures on how Nigerian government can judiciously utilize livestock industry in Nigeria. He revealed that 152-page document submitted to President Tinubu recommends measures that the government can use to mitigate the farmers-herders clashes across the country. He noted that both ranching and open grazing can coexist in short term until there is enough awareness and adequate infrastructure that will enhance the adoption of full ranching.
We have been able now to produce what we call an inception report, which contains very wide-ranging recommendations as to how our country can tap the potentials of the livestock sector in terms of opening up the value chain in this sector and ensuring that by so doing, we develop all sectors in the value chains to enhance economic growth and development, create jobs, and also ensure that we are not only able to bring about food, feed, and nutrition security, but we are also able to significantly begin to export.
The report of the committee is expected to be made public very soon with a view to getting more input from the public. Kike Lomo-Okere, Global Television News.
The Benue State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, has warned residents living 1 kilometer away from the River Benue to relocate immediately to avert an imminent flood disaster. The Executive Secretary of SEMA, Sir James IOPU, in a statement made available to journalists in Makurdi on Friday, said that the agency received an alert from the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA) and the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, indicating high chances of a 5-day rainfall that might lead to devastating floods in the state. IOPU listed areas at high risk as Udoma, Ugbokpo, Ugbokolo, Ukbiam, Otobi, Otukpa, Mbapa, Makurdi, Gbajimba, Gogo, and Abinsi. He therefore stressed the need for all concerned to heed such warnings as it was in their best interest, while assuring that his office, with support from Governor Hyacinth Alia, would leave no stone unturned to ensure citizens affected by disasters are always catered for. Residents of towns and villages along River Benue in Taraba State have started relocating and harvesting their crops as water begins to submerge farms following the release of water from Lajo Dam in Cameroon Republic. Findings revealed that the volume of water has started increasing in River Benue as farms located close to the river is submerged. Jalo Ibi, a boat operator in Ibi town located by the River Benue, made available to newsmen that the volume of water in the river had started increasing in the last 20 hours. He says rice farms, which were about to mature, had been submerged by water, causing panic among residents of the riverine areas in the state. President Bola Tinubu will not attend the 79th United Nations General Assembly session in New York this year. Rather, Vice President Kashim Shettima will lead Nigeria's delegation to the annual summit next week. In a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, said the President has therefore directed Vice President Shettima to lead Nigeria's delegation. According to the release, President Tinubu, who returned to the country last Sunday after his trip to China and the United Kingdom, wants to focus on domestic issues and address some of the country's challenges, especially after the recent devastating flooding. The Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, has approved the proposal by the federal government to settle out of court with a former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen, who is challenging his premature removal from office in 2019. The three-man appellate court panel, led by Justice Joseph Oyewole, also gave the parties November 19, 2024, to return to the court with their settlement terms for possible adoption as the judgment of the court in the dispute. At the resumed hearing, Onogen's lawyer, Dr. Ogu Onoja, informed three-member panel of justices that the two parties were already in discussions about a peaceful resolution of the dispute. Onoja mentioned that the parties had been in discussion up until Wednesday, September 18th. He expressed hope that the discussion would be fruitful and requested a 1-month adjournment for the final settlement of the matter. Minister of State for Education, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, says there is need for an act that regulates fertility and reproductive health practice and also protects practitioners. He stated this during the 14th Annual International Conference of the Association for Fertility and Reproductive Health. The theme of the conference was Collaboration for Assisted Reproductive Technology, Global Best Practices in Nigeria. Sununu says there was need for practitioners to spotlight their services, adding that the lack of accurate information about their services is underpaying and belittling them before other countries. He also called for a bank for health care practice in Nigeria, saying it will enable healthcare practitioners to easily obtain loan at single digits. Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umo Eno has assured that his administration will sustain the ongoing distribution of food palliatives across the 31 local government areas of the state to cushion the prevailing socio-economic challenges facing the people. The general manager of the state's bulk purchase agency, Uyime Etim, who represented the governor at the palliative disbursement to 5 6,000 vulnerable persons in 11 wards across 51 villages in Nsit Atai local government area, urged the beneficiaries to maintain peace as government was doing its utmost to salvage the situation. Addressing the beneficiaries at Odot, the headquarters of Nsit Atai Council, the governor observed that the distribution process was smooth, devoid of stampede and violence. Borno State government has realized over 12 billion naira in cash and material donations for victims of the Alau Dam flood disaster in Maiduguri. The senior special advisor on media to Borno Governor Abdulrahman Bandi gave the update on the donations on behalf of Maiduguri Relief Fund in Maiduguri. Bandi said the donations came from corporate entities, state governments, state and national assembly members, individuals and non-governmental organizations. Following Nigerian Meteorological Agency's NIMET predictions regarding impending flooding in Kebbi State, the National Emergency Management Agency NEMA has urged the state government to enforce the resettlement of communities in flood-prone areas. Dr. Daniel Obot, NEMA's zonal director, stressed the need for comprehensive safety plans to protect lives and property. He called for collaboration with local government authorities and stakeholders, as well as community sensitization on necessary precautions. Obot observed the high water levels in rivers across the state and stressed the need for relocating residents from affected areas. The Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Jibrin, has commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for converting the Federal Colleges of Education in Kano and Zaria to Federal Universities of Education. President Tinubu approved the conversion of the two FCEs to Federal Universities of Education to enhance the country's education system in line with the renewed Hope agenda. The Federal Ministry of Education issued memos communicating the approval to the two institutions. Senator Barau, in a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ismail Mudashi, said conversion would not only increase access to university education, but also enhance teachers' education and the teaching profession in the country. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, says his ministry is working closely with the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and other partners to address the section of the law that criminalizes attempted suicide. A statement from the ministry said the minister made the disclosure during the commemoration of the 2024 World Suicide Prevention Day in Abuja. He said the ministry was also working towards improving the mental health and well-being of Nigerians, assuring that Nigeria would soon join Committee of Nations that have decriminalized attempted suicide. You're watching News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When News Prime returns, Shatima seeks regulatory alignment for improved business environment. Details of this and more after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of the News Prime. In business, Vice President Kashim Shettima has called for the alignment of Nigeria's regulatory practices with global standards to enhance the country's business environment. This is according to a statement issued by Special Advisor to the President on Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, speaking at the inaugural Regulators Forum of the PEBEC at the Presidential Villa. Shettima emphasized the importance of transparency, trust and efficiency among regulatory bodies. The National Pension Commission has generated 20.87 trillion naira under the Contributory Pension Scheme in the third quarter of 2024. The Director General, National Pension Commission, Omolola Oloworonron, made this known while addressing journalists on pension reforms in Abuja. Kike Lomokere has details.
Pension Reform Act aims to address inefficiency in the pension system, necessitating a holistic overhaul. The Director General, National Pension Commission, Omolola Oloworonron, was represented by the Head Corporate Communications National Pension Commission, Ibrahim Bouaye, laments that 20 years after Pension Reform Act, low pension contribution still poses a challenge to the system. It therefore stressed the need for more stakeholders' engagement, including the media, to enlighten the public on the pension scheme and its futures.
Over 300,000 retirees have continued to receive retirement benefits regularly as and when due. This period, as the implementation has gone on, PENCOM continues to introduce innovations that would further strengthen and smoothen the implementation of the scheme.
The Executive Secretary, Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, Oguchi Aguda, explained that the Pension Reform Act has contributed over 11 trillion naira pension scheme, ensuring safety and growth.
The public sector has been strong in terms of contributing to the pension scheme, and they've contributed about 5.7 trillion naira over the last 17 years, while the private sector employers have contributed about 5.3 trillion naira. Those are huge sums of money, and that was brought about by the Act. And also that money has been kept safe by the activities of the pension operators. So that has been a plus for the industry, because safety first. The pension funds have ensured that that money is safe.
The Executive Secretary, Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, Chioma Ejikeme, who was represented by the Head Corporate Communication, Olugbenga Ajayi, advocates for the welfare of veterans and pensioners through verified AMALIFE confirmation.
Initiated by the federal government, in collaboration with other sister agencies, will be delivered onto our pensioners.
The theme of the conference, focusing on the 20-year journey of pension reform in Nigeria, highlights the paradigm shift in the pension system, emphasizing the participation of both employers and employees. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Domestic crude oil refiners and officials at the Dangote Petroleum Refinery have kicked against the commencement of the importation of premium motto spirit, popularly called petrol, by major oil marketers in Nigeria. Oil refiners allege that some imported fuels were of low quality when compared with the ones produced by the Dangote Refinery, a position that was reiterated by officials of the $20 billion Lekki-based plant. It was reported that 3 major oil marketers were expecting vessels of imported petrol this week, barring any unforeseen circumstances. United Kingdom state debt is equivalent to the country's annual output, data shown as the new government warns of tough decisions on tax and spending ahead of its maiden budget. The Office for National Statistics say in a statement that public sector net debt was provisionally estimated at 100% of gross domestic product at the end of August. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has warned Britons that the budget announcement on October 30 will be painful, with tax rises and spending cuts expected. On the foreign scene, Democratic candidate Kamala Harris holds a star-studded rally hosted by talk show legend Oprah Winfrey on Thursday in a bid to dazzle voters as rival Donald Trump criticized Jewish Americans for not voting for him. The pair hugged as Harris arrived on stage at the rally in Michigan, one of the 7 crucial battleground states that will decide the 9th November 5th election. Harris urged Americans to unite against the powerful forces that would try to divide them, represented by Republican former President Trump. Israel has carried out extensive airstrikes on southern Lebanon, targeting positions of the Iranian-backed group Hezbollah. The military say its warplanes struck more than 100 rocket launches, as well as a weapon depot. This comes as Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says they are at the start of a new phase of the war. In a significant statement reinforcing Saudi Arabia's long-standing stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has declared that the kingdom will not establish diplomatic relations with Israel until an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital is realized. The statement was delivered during the inauguration of the 9th session of the Shura Council on behalf of the custodian of the 2 holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. He reiterated Saudi Arabia's firm rejection and strong condemnation of the Israeli occupation authorities' crime against the Palestinian people, which flagrantly violates international and humanitarian law, adding to their long and bitter suffering. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky says he hopes U.S. President Joe Biden will support his plan to end the war with Russia ahead of a trip to Washington. Zelensky has promised to present his so-called victory plan to end the fighting, which has killed thousands, to Biden in the coming days. Zelensky will present the plan to the United States after a summer of intense fighting with Moscow advancing in eastern Ukraine and Kyiv holding on to parts of Russia's Kursk region. India has dismissed a news report claiming the government failed to prevent European buyers from transferring Indian-made artillery shells to Ukraine. In a story published, Reuters alleged that artillery shells sold by Indian arms makers have been diverted by European customers to Ukraine. The report also alleged that the transfer of ammunition has been ongoing for more than a year, with Delhi taking no action to stop it despite repeated protests from Moscow. In sports, about 120 universities in Nigeria and 36 others from Africa has started arriving in Lagos for the 11th All-Africa University Games, which is co-hosted by the University of Lagos and Lagos State University from Friday, September 20th to September 29th. The opening ceremony of the event will be held at the Unilag Sports Complex as the competition returns to Nigeria for the first time in 20 years. Unilag Vice Chancellor Professor Folashade Ogunshola says the Games will again project Nigeria's cultural heritage among the community of African universities. Players in the Nigeria Premier Football League say they are looking forward to being invited to the Super Eagles be ahead of the African Nations Championship qualifiers, which begins next month. The Confederation of African Football announced a new date for the 2024 tournament, fixing February 1st to 25th, 2025 for the championship meant for African footballers based in their countries. Enyimba forward Joseph Atule also say the announcement has fueled his desire to keep working hard to fulfill his dream of playing for Nigeria. As we end the Global News Prime, let's take a look at some of our top stories. Edo Gaba, President Tinubu asks politicians to respect will of voters. Flooding, Seme urges Benue residents to relocate. In business, Dangote officials, refiners tackle marketers over imported premium motor spirit. On the foreign scene, Saudi rules out restoring diplomatic ties with Israel without Palestine state. And in sports, we told you American universities storm Lagos for Federation of African University Sports Games. That's it on the News Prime, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on DSTV, channel 365, Star Times, channel 276, and free to air on Nigecomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.